Welcome back to the archives. Today's file is a little different because it's not about one story. It's about a graveyard. See, there's a strange pattern buried in this fandom. These stories, the comics, the animations, the AUs people pour years into almost never actually end. And here's the unsettling part. Most of them don't die when they're failing. They die right when they're winning. South Park got cancelled during the peak of its popularity. Left for Death enjoyed massive success right before its cancellation. If you just simply Google any South Park AU, there is a high chance of finding out that it stopped its publications right after a massive surge in popularity. So let's dig up the bodies and figure out what keeps killing them. Quick disclaimer before we start. This video talks about real creators and real fan communities. It is a study of a phenomenon, not a call-out of any single person, and not a place where we speculate about anybody's private life. Everything here is said with respect for the people who make this stuff for free. With that out of the way, let's begin with the spark that got me thinking about all this. Recently, one of the most well-known South Park AUs of all time, South Park, had its original home erased. The blog where the comic lived for years, where an entire community grew up around it, was simply deleted. And in its wake, the creator left a single line behind. Only those who hated South Park understood my methods. And the fandom did what fandoms do. It erupted. People spent days trying to decode that sentence, what it meant, who it was aimed at, what methods it was talking about. But I want to be clear, I'm not here to decode one creator's private message. That meaning belongs to them, not to us. What caught my attention wasn't the sentence itself, it was the reaction. Because underneath all the theories, one much bigger question kept surfacing over and over in every thread. Why do all of these stories end this way? Why does every AU seem to get cancelled? And I realized nobody actually knew. Everybody had a feeling. Nobody had a number. So I went and got one. Here's how I did it, because a number is only worth as much as the method behind it. First, I threw out text-only fanfiction. That's not a knock on it, it's that South Park's fan scene is unique precisely because so much of it is visual, paneled comics, full animations, illustrated AUs. That's the thing this fandom does that almost no other does at the same scale, and it's what I wanted to measure. Then I sampled 400 of them. 300 from the 3 platforms where these AUs actually live, Instagram, Tumblr, and Wattpad, and another 100 from the scattered edges. My rule was simple. One question per AU. Does it have a real, closed ending, or is it cancelled or frozen in a hiatus longer than 6 months? That's it. Finished or gone. The result? 84% were dead. More than 4 out of every 5. An entire creative culture, and only a sliver of it ever reaches an ending. But here's the detail that turned this from a statistic into a mystery. When I looked at when they died, most of them didn't fade out quietly from neglect. They were cancelled right after a spike in popularity, a sudden, exponential jump in likes and attention on the final posts before the silence. Read that again, because it's genuinely strange. These stories die at their peak. So the real question isn't, why do fan projects fail? It's the opposite. Why does success keep killing them? I have 3 answers. I'll go from the smallest to the one I think matters most. Reason 1. The pressure to keep going. Almost none of these AUs start as grand projects. They start tiny, a one-panel joke, a 2-page comic, a doodle with no real plot behind it. Something a person made for fun, in an afternoon, for nobody in particular. And then it catches. It gets popular. And popularity, it turns out, is a contract nobody signed. The creator starts expanding, building lore, adding characters, stretching a doodle into an ongoing saga until the hobby quietly transforms into a job. Usually an unpaid one. A second shift, every week, for free. And the audience? The audience only wants the AU. They'll ignore everything else that person makes, their original art, their other ideas, the actual thing they might want to be working on, and demand more of the one story that blew up. Imagine pouring yourself into something new and watching people scroll past it to ask, again, when the fan comic updates. That's the first crack. The boom doesn't just bring fans. It brings obligation. And obligation is where the joy starts to leak out. Reason 2, and it's a heavier one, the fandom itself. If you've spent time here, you already know South Park's fan scene shares a certain intensity with a very specific family of fandoms. Steven Universe, Undertale, Homestuck. Communities capable of extraordinary creativity and of turning on the very people who feed them. Here's how it curdles. A creator shares something as small as a headcanon, a personal little, "This is how I imagine this character," and a slice of the audience receives it not as an opinion, but as an attack. On the character, on the ship they're invested in. Sometimes on them. And from there it escalates into the machinery this corner of the internet knows too well. The callouts, the drama, the pylons. The project stops being a place someone made and becomes a battlefield they have to defend. South Park is maybe the clearest example there is. For years, the ship wars around it on Tumblr and Wattpad were legendary, fans fighting each other, and sometimes the creator, over who belonged with who. And imagine being the person at the center of that. You made a thing you loved, and now logging in means walking into a fight you never asked for. Notice the pattern repeating. This only happens because the AU got big. A story with 50 readers has no ship wars. The toxicity is a tax on success, and the bigger you get, the higher the bill. And reason 3, the one I think outweighs the other two combined. The simplest, least dramatic answer of them all, life. We talk about these AUs like they were meant to be great works. They weren't. Most of them were never planned as anything more than something fun to make on the side. And the people making them are, overwhelmingly, teenagers and young adults. Kids in school. People starting their first real jobs. People with an entire life accelerating around them. And when you're 18, 19, a fan comic is not going to win against your actual future. Not against exams, not against a career, not against the pull to finally make something that's yours, 100% original, that nobody can say you borrowed. Faced with that choice, a free fanfic is one of the easiest things in the world to set down. There's no villain in this one. Nobody quit. Life just kept moving the way it always does, and the AU didn't make the cut. And honestly, that's not a tragedy. That's a person growing up. So put the 3 together, and a single shape appears. The boom arrives. With it comes the pressure of an unpaid job. With it comes a fandom intense enough to make every week a fight. And all of it lands on someone whose real life is only getting bigger, busier, and more theirs by the day. And that's what leads to the real answer underneath all 3, the one that ties it shut. These creators don't fail. They don't even really quit. They outgrow it. The story that once meant everything becomes a chapter of who they used to be, and one day the passion that lit it just isn't there anymore. Not killed by any single thing. Simply left behind. Which reframes that 84% completely. It isn't a graveyard of failures. It's a record of thousands of people who made something, gave it to a community for free, got everything the internet had to give, the love and the poison both, and then walked forward into their own lives. The endings we never got are the price of the creators getting to grow up. Maybe that's the quiet truth of every dead AU. It was never really about finishing the story. It was about who the person telling it became on the way out. So, why do South Park AUs always die? Not laziness, not lack of talent. They die because they succeed, and success turns a hobby into a job, a community into a war, and a kid with a doodle into an adult with a life to live. If you made one of those stories once and left it behind, that's not a failure. That's just the next chapter, and it's yours. And that's the file closed well, this one anyway. The vault's still 4 out of 5 full of stories that never got their endings. Maybe that's what this channel is for. Tell me about the one you still think about, down in the comments. Subscribe, and I'll keep digging. I always find something.